So just to mention, at least at this timestamp, because I don't want to repeat it on the future timestamp, we want to talk about other things, but yeah, so this is not going to be one of the videos that it's basically just going to be filler for the next week or two, as we get Eldritch Parasite and 3 custom mysteries. But if you don't know the reason why, again, this should be the only time I say it, otherwise I don't want to be redundant, but just go see my GoFundMe video or the page, and you'll understand why I'm making preparations for basically pre-recordings. It's not even a vacation, it's literally because of the reasons stated. But as we move on to our custom character and do what we can here. Yeah, Eldritch Parasite stuff. So, yeah, going to talk about something completely different as we get into this. And we'll see what happens. So, as we get into Eldritch Parasite, and I think we actually had random item stats, but that's fine. Yeah, we could talk about, I've talked about FF14 before on this channel, but I can talk about how casual I actually tried to be. As we get Toxicon, Knowledge, Charisma, second Mystery, second Encounter, and maybe Dexterity check. And the short version is basically if I had the time and pleasure to just relax for the rest of my life, FF14 would definitely be something I come back to. But since that's not the case, and we don't need this empty bottle filled, then during my time, again, I will be repeating some things here, but for the most part, I'm going to be focusing on, I guess, basically the non-battle side of FF14, which might sound strange, as we have Festival, Ramen, again, 3 custom mysteries, Television, Shibas, and Murderer. So, whoops, we need to take something else first. We need to take Murder and Shibas at some point. Maybe we just take Television now. Yeah. Yeah, Television now. Festival 4th, Ramen last. So, really quickly, to talk about World of Horror, if nothing else. The reason why I take my mysteries in a certain order is it's really simple. I usually prioritize boss mysteries for the first 3 mysteries, because after completing your 3rd mystery, on the 4th mystery and 5th mystery, enemies get an extra point of damage. And in the case of custom mysteries with bosses, they often do a lot of damage, so you don't want to take 1 more damage on top of that, because that can result in 4 to 5 stamina or reason damage. And in the case of a lot of mysteries, you take 3 all damage, which means you either need a brace or just you take 3 all damage in the face every turn. And then I like taking Festival 4th because it's kind of I guess a breathe, not a relaxation, I'm losing the word, but you get what I mean. It's a mystery I can fit in between as a kind of a recovery mystery. So whatever mysteries are 2nd and 4th that I consider, hey, I like taking Festival here, it's to rest. And in Festival you can rest and get some healing done. So, therefore, on the 1st and 3rd mystery, when you may have bosses, or you may want to do bosses, then you can put in Festival right afterward, or Flood, and take some rest. Although Flood technically has a boss, you can still get rest done and feel kind of good about yourself. So, and that's why Festival's usually 4th, because on the 3rd mystery, if nothing else, my 3rd mystery, because I want to do all of the bosses then, I save my boss till the 3rd mystery, and then I use my 4th mystery, which could be Festival, to rest. I think that makes more sense, as a specific example. But you don't have to play World of Horror this way, that's just how I decide to do it. By the way, we have not run into, so we're looking for, specifically, if you haven't seen this before, on Eldritch Parasite, I normally look for either Ghostly Spear or Mind Drain. Getting both would be great, but you'd have to be really lucky to do that. And the only reason this strategy is moderately, or actually consistent in my case, is that trying to get 1 of 2 spells, you still have a good chance of doing so in about 20 to 25% doom, which is normally what you can spare. Now, in this case, I'm a bit unlucky, but I guess we're just here rolling the dice for the end, because I'm just committed at this point. And if no other reason, it's interesting to see how long it takes for me to get a damage spell. I think this is by far one of the worst times, but I don't remember, so if someone wants to correct me, hey. Also, I didn't want to see Mind Drain, because note that we have the Gruesome Totem, so we're losing a lot more max reason, but it's fine. So yeah, we're going to purposely try to take reason damage if I can remember it. Otherwise, we just try to do anything else, really. And then police patrols bound downtown. As always, if you want to just brute force things, if your downtown is at max threat level, which you can check here, or in events, apparently, because I completely didn't know about that for some reason. But yeah, if this says doomed threat level, there's another one on Harbinger of Doom. So if this says doomed threat level, and your downtown is at doomed threat level, just put and you have the police station available, put police patrols in downtown. You'll more likely than not get at least some value of it. But most of the time you get a lot of value out of it, because base mysteries, B-A-S-E, space, base mysteries tend to visit downtown, or in your average run, if you take mysteries randomly, yeah, and you don't decide to reroll, usually you'll be visiting the downtown a good number of times. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, back to the topic of FF14. Yeah, FF14 was always usually brought in for raid. Again, I'll mention this really briefly because I don't want this to be about FF14 raids. Had fun with the people, hated raiding, just myself. I understand it's important for just MMORPGs in general, but I just personally don't like usually battle content, really. But since FF14 is the primary, and if not only MMORPG I really played, then yeah, I don't like battle content. And I feel like I wouldn't like it in any other MMORPG. I even didn't mind, pugging things, but I just didn't like I didn't like it as much. But that's not to say I don't enjoy doing it. And I certainly enjoy it more if I can just do things myself. So yes, I am a bit antisocial in MMORPGs, but that doesn't mean I dislike, socializing with people. It's just that I'd rather be on my own doing stuff. So, and I think yes, a large part of it is the kind of the antisocial aspect. I mean, sure, there's a better way to name it, and I'm sure there's a more accurate explanation for why I feel the way I do. 7 strength, by the way. But I mean, it's just the way I am. Oh, by the way, yeah, we're just going to take all damage here. I don't want to take stamina damage as well, but it seems like that's what we're going to have to do. Could have also equipped the wooden bat, but you know what? With my RNG, let's just say that I would have missed all my wooden bat attacks, which means we're throwing the wooden bat, and we're also throwing the empty bottle. But also, taking only -2 damage isn't that bad either. And if you can hit every single kick here, that means less Mind Drain uses. Probably no. If you had Ghostly Spear, this would be guaranteed. But I guess we'll gamble again, so we need to hit every single kick. 72.8%. Or 73.2%, I forget. Anywho, you get what I mean. So, off we go. Time skip, so be it. My Doom, I guess we'll die by Doom, but we'll try to survive as long as possible. But yeah. Didn't like raiding. So, normally just like crafting and gathering, I would sit in front of either personal house or guild house, depending if I was in a guild at the time, free company, sorry. And I just sat and did crafting and gathering, and that was how chill I could be. I guess it also because it allows me to kind of just autopilot and do something else in real life, because I did play... Does this count, by the way? This kit says... No, it doesn't say cost. Well, forget the spell then. Even though we don't get reason, it doesn't matter. What was I saying? Crafting, gathering? Yeah, I just did crafting, gathering stuff most of the time, and I feel like I would still have a, at where I've tried to. I don't really check into FF14 as much, but I do know that I did. Well, yeah, I actually do want to mind drain here. I do know that with the additions that I've seen with FF14, I would still kind of just sit and craft and gather. Now, again, that's not to say I won't do battle content as well. There are some times in which doing battle content makes your crafting and gathering life easier, if that makes any sense. But actually doing raids, it just wasn't for me. Now, I could be enticed to do raiding content if there were, and I was probably enticed, because even though it's not specifically raids, as one would be like savage raids and whatnot, you could make me do a lot of battle content if there are, say, mats sitting in a type of content and where you need to implement the battle system. And that's, again, I didn't hate the battle system, it's just primarily raiding that I disliked doing, and that I was pulled into doing. Now, I wasn't dragged kicking and screaming. It is my fault for but I was the one who accepted, but I also I should have leveled up at some point here. I forgot to, but we'll see. Yeah, you know what? No, actually, no. We'll just take 2 all here. Could run away, but our Doom is high in case we haven't noticed for ourselves. So, mind drain time. And so what I mean by this is that, yeah, if I had to run around and grind, say, materials, or just AFK grind, because that's usually what you do, obviously you would just use the market board, especially if you had the gold to do so, but in my case, I just often just did things on my own. You know what? I will throw the camera. That way we can just guarantee this. I thought that did 2 damage, so I said guarantee when I thought it was going to be a risk, but anywho. Also, keep in mind, we are fighting a bunch of enemies here, so actually I do need to think about things for a moment, but not for too long, so... Although my reason is, man, max reason already. Examine the package, maybe fail? Yeah, because we want to lose reason. That sounds odd, but I promise you, if nothing else, it allows me to take the risk. So what I mean, or take the risk. Yeah, take the risk. Because if I lose reason, I can use the max reason to do damage anyway. Or if I succeed in the event, then I at least get experience. But then maybe I use Mind Drain anyway, but at least I get experience. That's basically what I'm trying to get at here. And so yeah, for FF14, yeah, I've obviously been in instances where I go around on flying islands, let's just say, and, you know, do get some crafting and gathering done. Or fishing, if you're doing fishing stuff as well, because I do remember, let's just say, an update coming out, fishing up some pterodactyls and selling each one for $1 million a pop. And that's often likely to happen at the beginning of new content that introduces new item stuff. Now, I don't know about the economy now, because obviously I'm not playing FF14 anymore, but it's not even like a hustle either, but it's you gather gold, and I like gathering gold, and I like crafting and gathering, even though I was not the most efficient crafter and gatherer, and there are people who know me from FF14 who can attest to that. In fact, there is one specific player who saw me fail a craft I failed a craft right in front of someone who was requesting something, even though I had copies of that item on my retainers anyway, but you get the point. Doesn't look good. Also, we lost a lot of reason, by the way, but at least that allows me to use Mind Drain comfortably. So, one more Mind Drain, and time to gamble. We can take some stamina damage here, that's why I'm willing to just take this in the face, but as we move on here, hopefully, thank you, we'll equip this steak knife. We'll probably just end up throwing it, depending, but we'll see. And I think we have a dexterity check either way. Survival instinct would be interesting, but we're gonna hope our reason doesn't fall that low, because by the time it falls that low, we're probably already lost anyway. I just shrugged in real life, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Anywho. Yeah, I think that's a status effect, yeah, insomnia, that's lowering my reason, so we're gonna lose we're actually gonna lose a lot of reason, so 4 more reason guaranteed at the end of every mystery due to insomnia. And we hope, so actually, yeah, I forgot that I was on Elder Parasite for whatever reason. We still want to rest here, but yeah, we can't heal, is what I'm trying to say. I'll take Iwa, why not? If nothing else, we'll toss Iwa at someone, but we really need to complete this run soon. But yeah, otherwise I'm completely fine with just sitting in front of Summoning Bell, or sitting in front of just somewhere and just crafting and gathering the whole time. And you could just do that for a lot of your FF14 career. Now, obviously, at some point, especially if new content comes out, you do need to progress through. But I'm willing to do that. But obviously, it gets a bit more comfortable if I can do it with other people that I at least trust. Because pugging, well, you know my RNG. Pugging has not been the best for me. It's been funny, again, I've never ran into an experience that I was like, oh man, this ruins my day. No, in the end, it's just funny experiences. Being rescued, being among one of them, but hey. Especially since I went in doing with tank a lot, which sounds really off, because one might wonder, well, Jordan, if you didn't like doing raiding and stuff, why would you play as a tank? That's not the case. I think I still have a video on this channel which I'm primarily raiding as monk, but I do primarily play tank. I play warrior specifically on FF14. That's not to say I didn't try leveling all my classes here and there, but yeah, I played warrior for a good portion, and then obviously a large portion of one expansion I was monk, because, well, I did try to sub monk. I played monk on the side whenever I didn't want to play warrior specifically, and yes, that does mean I do the worst on healer. Not that I don't understand how healer, or how to try to do healer, I guess to say, and that's not just, you know, me just sitting around healing. It is also, you know, you have to put in some DPS to at least make things easier for other people, if that sounds odd enough. And by that I mean, when you're in dungeons, you know, I ended up talking about combat a lot anyway, but I think we just die here, by the way, because we lose all of our reason at the end of this mystery. But you know what? We'll struggle till the end. But yeah, if it's needed to progress through the story, so you can have access to things, and by that I mean whether it's beast tribes, new beast tribes in the case of newer content here now in Dawn Trail, or just, you know, being able to reach areas so you can gather things and or craft new things, then yeah, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. By the way, we lost a bunch of reason, but that's par for the course. So shrug. But otherwise, once I get everything done, I basically just rush crafting and gathering. Whether it's leveling, whether it's doing quests, whether it's now doing progression for, let's say, reconstructions in places. Yeah, man. Perfectly happy crafting and gathering. Now, that doesn't mean I'm always, you know, I'm not someone who's professional in the ways of, oh, you know, I have you know, I can be a crafter or gatherer for Savage raid tiers, but I do normally just hoard stuff. Again, the way I've metaphored it for myself is that I often just sit on a dragon's trove of items and stuff. So if someone asks me for like, hey Jordan, do you have potions or do you have food for me? I can go like, yeah, here you go. Just take like 21 or a full stack, because I'm literally sitting on 99 stacks while selling things as well. But as we lose all of our reason here, yeah, if you want to hear more FF14 stories or specific FF14 stories, or ask if you have any questions, yeah, feel free to let me know. I'll answer to the best of my ability. And that's all I have to say. So without further ado, I guess I'll see you in the next video, because, well, I didn't level up twice, but it's fine. It doesn't matter because we lost everything.